What? Kick us out? Loudly exclaims Colonel Oscar from the discomfort of his ship. Hold on. Let me finish before you start one of your rambles about the state of the coalition. Tries to argue the Bryon military attaché from the comfort of his home office. Great, no, fantastic. I can't wait to see one of those unthinkable plans set in motion. I will immediately contact the Senate and inform them that Operation Starbliss is a go. Oh, hold on. I've got to make a quick call. He says, as he takes out an old-fashioned bright red dial phone from one of his desk drawers. Oh, come on, not that again. Sir, this is Colonel Oscar. I regret to inform you that the coalition of the First Arm has officially kicked us out. Sorry? Are they threatening our off-world interests? Yes, sir, absolutely. Not only that, but our way of life and what we stand for. Yes, sir, I understand. I will extend your orders to all the units intended for Operation Starblitz. I have no time for this childish behaviour, Colonel. Also, sir, if I may speak freely, I would also put on standby some additional forces. Given their current position and readiness, I suggest deploying the 15th, 16th, and 20th Starfleets in a support role, with the 8th and 12th Starfleets as strategic reserves. This way we should be outnumbered only 20 to 1, giving us the clear advantage. Are you done? I was about to say how Terrans are not mature enough, and that's why some members want to kick you out. Comments the Bryon, clearly annoyed. To which the human simply smiles and points to the red phone, this time with a less playful intent. Before you improvise yourself as a poor excuse of a comedian, yet again, please listen well to what I have to say. Taking the situation more seriously, the Colonel nods in approval and assumes a more appropriate posture. Let's start from the beginning. I'm sure you will remember how, about 2 months ago, I asked you to send an elite team of your bestest soldiers to take part in some super-secret training exercises, along with other Tier 1 units from the Coalition. Well, it's those guys' fault. God damn those idiots. What did they do? Oh, wait, let me guess. Did they lose some extremely valuable military equipment? Or did they break extremely valuable military equipment? Don't tell me they impregnated some extremely valuable military equipment. If I had to bet, I would say it was Lance Corporal Rodriguez. That bastard could make a rock bear his child if he really put his back into it. What? No. How did you even come up with the last one? Says the Bryon, both curious and horrified. To which the human just replies, not to ask. Going back to the main topic, I received numerous reports claiming that your soldiers during the joint special training have been insensitive, unprofessional, and xenophobic, apparently. It is also described how humans have allegedly humiliated, ridiculed, and treated with extreme dishonour allied teams. This is why a couple of military representatives used this accident as an excuse to kick you out, while others expect severe punishments to the individuals involved. So they just behaved and started calling names? You guys are being too soft. Take these complaints to the Sergeant Major of the Army or whatever. I'm ending the call. Oh, come on. Can't you stop being a child for 1 minute? The whole reason why I'm even talking to you is because after reading the reports, I'm sure there has been a great misunderstanding. I know your men, and while they could and should have acted in a better way, they never explicitly went against orders or broke any rules during the exercises. Seeing honesty in the tone of his voice, the Colonel takes a deep breath and grants him a bit more of his time. I need to tell you about the special training. It's a top military secret, but it's not like we can keep it hidden much longer. A couple of years ago, we found an encrypted message left behind by our ancestral forerunners, the enigmatic beings believed to have gifted life to our planet. We know very little of them, other than the fact that they left our star system many thousands of years before our space age. Oh, so you were excited because you found a raggedy-ass piece of paper left by your star daddy, who went out to grab a Carson in the Milky Way? Did you leave an address or something? Maybe the reason he hasn't come back yet is because he's still looking for that Siggy Way. Why do I even bother? Listen. The message, once deciphered, did contain some coordinates, but it was not their new home. We found a remote dwarf exoplanet. A bit more interested, the human secretly starts recording the conversation. On the surface of which sits a gigantic hollow dome, of obvious artificial construction. Well, to be precise, the dome is just the tip of the literal iceberg, as right under it there's an industrial complex of truly monstrous size. From factories producing nanomachines and drones, to cold fusion reactors and gravity generators. Everything is controlled and operated by an equally impressive hypercomputer of near limitless computational power. Now we are talking. Wait until you hear what it can do. Thanks to the computer, we can change and manipulate almost everything that lies under the dome, which in itself is quite massive, with a diameter of 100 kilometers and a height of 10. The interior is plated by extremely advanced crystal-infused alloys of unknown origin that can create images or background light sources by tuning on in certain patterns. Basically fancy LEDs. The hypercomputer can directly affect gravity, though means as of yet unknown, on a macroscopic level as well. It can also control the swarms of nanomachines and utility drones to perform numerous tasks, such as maintenance and repairs. But more interestingly, the microscopic robots can heal damaged biological tissues and revive any individual from any species, short of catastrophic nerve damage. These can even bond together and assume any form, colour and density, and when programmed accordingly, they act as single entities to mimic anything that moves. With a bit of time, one can even terraform the surface, the atmosphere and set weather patterns, giving us near endless possibilities. Impressive, very nice. But I guess you are not using this oasis of life for what was originally intended, right? Says the Colonel, having already understood what the alien is about to say. Yes. As you might imagine, we are currently using it to perform combat tests, to push our soldiers to their very limits, while maintaining the highest level of safety and realism. 24 teams, all from different coalition species, went through several exercises and simulated operations, mostly against drones mimicking potential enemies. I get the gist of it. What did my men do? Taking a pause, the Brian pulls out a tablet and briefly reads the reports. Having gone through the most important ones, he puts it aside and continues. Your soldiers performed well. Too well. They were so efficient and effective in their work that they often ended up with top scores. Some of the more prideful species weren't really happy, as your men completed many assignments in record times while apparently not breaking a sweat. The Colonel attempts to hide his grin as he stares at the attaché, with his distinctive look of superiority. If that wasn't enough, your soldiers started joking about the ease with which they were completing the training simulations, stating, for example, and I quote, "Just like the simulations. That's gotta be a new galaxy record, and we speed ran this bitch." After hearing this, and many other comments, someone dared to challenge the humans in a direct confrontation, obviously keeping the safety of the participants as the highest priority. I have a feeling I already know what they did. You know your men well. After all, you were the one who selected them. Well, since they finished the list of events far quicker than expected, some soldiers presented a couple of games, and asked to try them out for the remaining 7 days. Having heard this, Oscar receives the non-verbal confirmation of his theories. What do you think a bunch of stupid humans in their late 20s would do when given such an opportunity to have fun? Mumbles the Colonel to himself. The first day, the game proposed was a fighting competition, where teams would be put against each other in a relatively enclosed setting. Each participant was free to choose whatever equipment he wished, and the scope of the game was to eliminate the entirety of the enemy team on a round basis. The only rule was the explicit absence of rules, meaning everything was allowed within safety. It was proposed by the Keltians, who, very proud of their idea, were looking forward to humiliating the Terrans by performing ritual dances on their immobilized bodies after scoring a kill during a match. So, they played Team Deathmatch. You know about it. It's the same word your men used, and let's say that they were really enthusiastic. They proceeded to absolutely dominate the other teams, winning all 23 matches they played. Since they knew of the Keltians' intentions, they proceeded to, and I quote, default dance on their bodies. Many were outraged by the lack of discipline and respect, but since it was within the rules, they swallowed their pride and kept silent. What about day 2? The second day, the Ryugians suggested a game on a wider scale, where teams would be inserted at random into an expansive area with different territorial features, unarmed and without supplies. The scope of this game was to obtain weapons, hidden randomly around the map to fight opponents for a couple of hours. Once the time was up, the surviving teams would be scored based on performance. So now they played a boring battle royale? Oh, you know of this as well? Again, it's exactly what your men said. They ended up scoring first with double the points of the second team on the leaderboard. But surprisingly they complained that, and I quote, "The map is shit, the loot is placed at random and not in points of interest, there's no gulag, and the play area does not shrink over time." Yet again, some species complained about humans commenting on their lack of skill, their appearances, and their mothers. The Bryon takes a moment to collect his thoughts, then proceeds to empty an entire glass of alcohol. The last game was proposed on the third day by the Quacksar. Fed up by the humans' attitude, they decided to place them in a simulation that would greatly affect their morale and decision-making. Please don't tell me. They chose a setting that would hit close to home. They asked to create a map of roughly 20-kilometer diameter, with a human settlement inspired by mid-rise towns of the 21st and 22nd centuries. Since the whole idea was to demoralize and negatively impress the Terran psyche, they came up with a truly wicked setting. Oh no. An abandoned, overgrown and destroyed landscape, infested by humanoid-looking feral and aggressive creatures with low intelligence, that rely on numbers to overwhelm their prey. Very scarce resources and equipment would force teams to collaborate as each day becomes more challenging, in order to survive until the fifth and last day. So you created a fucking zombie apocalypse in real life as a game, put 6 humans in it, and hoped to have collaboration between species? And all this basically without rules? Well, if you say it like that, it does kinda sound stupid. Never mind. I want to know what happened next. I'm too invested now. The first and second day of the game, they went around the designated area to gather or steal all the resources they could find, leading to death by starvation of 17 teams by the third day. My morons. So proud of them. The third day they raided one camp where 4 species were working together to survive. They actually snuck in at night, seizing all their weapons and even a large civilian motor vehicle a Quacksar managed to find and repair. By the time they woke up, the Terrans had gathered a very large horde of monsters outside the perimeter. They all died as they had nothing but blunt objects to fight the unending waves, while the humans watched and made bets from a nearby building. Trying to contain his laugh, the Colonel takes a sip from his glass. The fourth day, they spent over 20 hours driving the stolen vehicle around, which was renamed Fucking Hella Awesome Battle Bus by the humans. Having extensively modified it by welding steel cages around it, and by mounting an extremely crooked-looking snowplow on the front, they drove at full speed, seemingly aimlessly, to shoot everything that moved aside, and ran over everything that did not. They even created a makeshift flamethrower, and used it to set ablaze the survivor camp of the remaining teams who were working together. Safe to say they were the last team standing by the 5th and last day. So how did it end? Pretty fed up by the constant mocking and humiliation, all the other species requested the creation of a huge monster to finally put a stop to their hubris. What followed was a 4-hour-long battle, as the humans kept driving at full speed while being chased by the mega-zombie. They eventually ran out of fuel and were all eliminated, but said they had no regrets and would do it all over again, including the part where they set on fire 20 of their allies. Technically, they never broke any rules, as they always acted within the set safety limits, but it's easy to see where the misunderstanding comes from. Well, to be fair, there's no misunderstanding. They simply got their asses handed to them, and that's why they are bitching. I will have a talk with my men and take appropriate measures. Very well. I, on the other hand, will try my best to mediate the situation. While I don't think there's any real possibility of you being kicked out, it's best if you prepare an official apology. After bidding each other farewell, the Colonel can finally take a big, fat laugh, having endured the urge up until now. He then takes the red phone and starts dialing, one number after the other. Sir, I think our Bryon friends have a new, very interesting toy. I will send you all the documentation as soon as I get a hold of it. No, sir, I would never. I instead propose a strategic transfer of equipment to alternate location. Don't worry, sir. I'm sure our weird friends from the SOF will find a way to move a planet. It can't be that difficult.